Okay. So, hello everybody. My name is Noelle and this is my first YouTube video, but I thought that there was no better time than now than to come here and talk about this whole Kanye West situation. Well, maybe not the whole thing, more specifically the response to Kanye, the backlash, all of that. And I want to first off say that a lot of people are right when they say that in the Black community, there's a lot of groupthink. There's a lot of, you need to think the way that I think, or else I'm going to kick you out of the community. A lot of, oh, you're not Black enough if you don't believe this or think that. And that could really make it hard for a lot of free thinkers like myself. Like, I consider myself a free thinker. It makes it hard for us to kind of feel comfortable sharing our opinions and ideas to other Black people. So when I say I'm a free thinker, that means that I don't normally go with the convention of Black thought that is very prevalent in our community. Like, I don't have a religious, any religious leanings. I don't have strong loyalty to the Democratic Party. I'm not a Republican either, but I'm not a Democrat. I'm pro LGBTQ. So there's a lot of my beliefs and opinions that go against the grain of the Black community. I also am not a huge fan of Obama. And while I dislike Trump, I am not on like this Trump hate train that a lot of people are on, especially Black people. And by the way, I'm for the wall. So I'm pro Trump building a wall or whatever and deporting, undocumented immigrants. I'm all for that. I feel like that's better for the Black community anyway. But that's a whole different video. Let's talk about what Kanye West said first, and I'll talk about the responses from Black people. So Kanye West basically went on national television and said that the enslavement of our ancestors after 400 years was a choice. Now, could you imagine if a person went on national TV and said that the Holocaust was a choice, that 9/11 was a choice, that the genocide of Native Americans was a choice? Do you think that that person would still have a career? Everybody from the white community, everybody would be up in arms about it. Okay. But for some reason, so many people see nothing wrong with Kanye saying what he said. And a lot of people are using the free speech argument, saying, well, freedom of speech. He can say that. It's freedom of speech. Yeah, you could say that. But freedom of speech is a two-way street. So if you publicly say something that is insensitive and inaccurate, because it is inaccurate, if you say something like that, then people can very well criticize you and ostracize you for the things you say. They have every right to do that as well. So that's something that you free speech people need to keep in mind, that free speech does not protect you from criticism. Free speech does not protect you from, people calling you out on your bullshit. Free speech only protects you from being persecuted by the government for what you say. it could, you could say something ignorant and it can affect your coins, it can affect your employment, your social situation, your career. It can affect everything, okay? So that's something that needs to be kept in mind. While Kanye West has the right to think the way he wants to think and say what he wants to say and go against the grain and be a provocateur or whatever he's trying to do, he can do that, but it comes with consequences. And that's just the real deal right now. So I that's all I have to say about that. But I want to talk about the specifics of, well, no. First, I want to talk about the response to what he said from a lot of Black people. I don't really care about what white people are saying because, whatever. They've been trying to absolve themselves from the victimization of Black people for years and say it's not their fault and deflect from it. So I really don't want to get into that. Black people all over social media, all over the internet have been giving their 2 cents and basically saying, oh yeah, I agree with Kanye. I agree that, slavery was a choice. I agree that, Black people are mentally enslaved and if they wanted to be free, they could have. Or if they only fought back, they could have, ended slavery. I mean, okay. I mean, how do you know? How do you know that these people could have escaped their situation without the Civil War taking place and ultimately giving them their freedom? How do you know that? And by the way, did you know that many of the slaves revolted? There were literally hundreds of revolts of slaves, maybe even thousands, hundreds of revolts of slaves trying to kill their masters or the white people on the plantation or the white people who were transporting them from one plantation to the next. There were so many revolts. It wasn't just the revolt of Black people, enslaved Black people. It was also free Black people who were fighting these revolts. It was also white indentured servants and poor white allies and Native Americans who were helping Black people revolt against the white ruling class slave owning elites. The most popular interracial slave revolt was Harper's Ferry, where a white man led that revolt. So this idea that Black people we just decided that we were going to be complacent in slavery is just untrue. So many Black people wanted to escape, but they feared the consequences of escaping, because the more Black people revolted, the more they tried to run away, the harsher the punishments got. The punishments became harsher and harsher as time went on, to the point where they said, this is our lot in life. We have to deal with it. This is going to be our life. And they couldn't, it was that or death, or worse than death, being tortured. Having a loved one be tortured, because sometimes they would do that. They wouldn't hurt you directly, they'll hurt a loved one. So, and by the way, there were, when we talk about slavery, we forget to talk about those people on the outside of slavery who were the Black people who were really working hard to end the institution. We forget about Harriet Tubman, who orchestrated a whole underground railroad to bring people to freedom. Benjamin Banneker, he wrote to Thomas Jefferson and other white people in power to advocate for freeing the slaves. Frederick Douglass lobbied with Abraham Lincoln to use the Civil War to free the slaves. Okay, there were so many black people working to abolish slavery who were on the outside of it, who had the privilege and advantage of an education, who had the ear of very important, powerful white people. They were all trying to get these people out of bondage. Then you say, well, okay, what about, slaves being able there's so many slaves on the plantation. Why couldn't they have taken over? Why couldn't they have run away or whatever? You do realize that you can't outrun a gun. Okay? You can't outrun a rifle or a dog. You can't outrun that in a I don't even understand where these people are coming from with this. The black people were not armed. All the white surrounding white people, they were armed, but the black people were not armed. There's no way that the black people could have